anyone in Jammu and Kashmir. Having an asset inside Jammu and Kashmir at that point in time, I want to start with that.
Thank you. Although I am not as primitive as your question and my answer would suggest, but definitely a lot of things have changed over last many years. And I would just encapsulate them in 6 M's or 6 mores as I call them. First is more threats. The complexity and the diversity of threats has increased. National security is no longer only about armed forces or counter-terror operations. Organized crime networks, transnational groups, narco-terror linkages, social unrest, disinformation, and all of that. And intelligence agencies now have to respond to all of these complex threats. The second is more information. We no longer have to rely on single or a select source of information. Earlier, if the adversary was making a road or a bridge, somebody had to go and photograph it. Now we have satellite imagery, communication, electronic intelligence. So the number of sensors has increased. The third is more speed. The way this data or the information is flowing is very fast. Yesterday, when the fighter aircrafts of Pakistan and the drones took off from Peshawar and Nur Khan and bombed the civil areas in Afghanistan, within minutes everybody knew. So the speed of information has dramatically changed. The fourth is more users. Everyone wants intelligence. The soldier on the line of control, the units in the counter-terror operations, the law enforcement agencies, the business institutions, the policy planners. And therefore, intelligence agencies have to curate the intelligence responses to all these differing requirements. The fifth is more providers. Now we have various agencies, cyber, technical, human, internally, financial, and therefore the challenge is how do you aggregate and analyze the inputs coming from various providers. And the last one, and probably the most important one, is more expectations and responsibility. So we have to be more responsible to all of these requirements. So these 6 broad additions, 6 mores, are driven by one single fundamental factor, and that is the advent of technology, how it has transformed the way intelligence is seen. And obviously we have seen how the nature of warfare itself is changing, and the world of intelligence is not immune to these changes. Coming back to J&K, there was a time when the degree and the time of interaction with the source was paramount. There was a lot of physical interaction with the source. The individuals were in far-flung areas, they had to physically reach out to you. So that has changed. Now means of communication are much faster. Now we are scanning social media accounts, online activities for potential recruits, for potential suspects. So fundamentally, I think the way intelligence agencies operate, that has changed a lot in last few years. But what agencies have to do is to embrace this change and evolve new methods, new principles, and a new mindset. The point about you could not trust anybody in J&K, I am not very comfortable with this particular statement, because the success that we have had over last so many years would not have come to security forces if it was not for those large segment of individuals who worked for us and gave us that information which gave us success. So trust, I think it's a very very nebulous, very two-way street, and there are enough people in J&K whom you can trust.
I was talking about the time that you actually started, when it must have been quite difficult. I want to share this with everyone present here. Just about after Operation Sindoor, as a journalist, when I got an information and a couple of photographs actually landed, and these photographs were of terror bases and the fact that they've moved to Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. In fact, it went to such an extent that there were pictures of Jaish and Lashkar-e-Toiba bases moved, videos that had come out. I often wondered, have we reached to such an extent now we have actually pictures of the terror bases, in fact, just outside. I had a video landing on my phone of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jaish videos of their bases in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, showing the transition that's actually taking place, moving away from POK. How have we really changed? Human intelligence, SIGINT completely changing. The dynamics of it both really changing.
So yes, as I mentioned earlier, the fundamentals of intelligence have changed. The capabilities have become much more enhanced. I won't like to go into what are those capabilities, do we have the pictures and specifics of that. But the fact of the matter is that intelligence agencies continuously try to get the best information, have an information advantage, and that is a task that is to be done on a routinely basis. The capabilities, certainly because of various technologies, as I mentioned, communication, satellite imagery, electronic, and all of these, they have changed. But to me, the human interaction and engagement, it remains the basic skill set of an intelligence operator. So the basic traits for which individuals provide information, ideology, compromise, revenge, ego, incentive, money. So those basic traits are not going to change, and it is for the intelligence operatives to see as to how best they can exploit these basic human traits.
You have with our neighbors in the manner that they are carrying out their work, and particularly in today's time, there is an attempt that has been made to mislead us. When an intel input actually comes of that nature, and in today's time, especially with changing electronic warfare, how do you really trust any of these information that comes in? How do you really have an authentic intelligence input? What is it in the first place?
I think as far as an input is concerned, so we've mentioned that there are various ways through which inputs are coming. Human inputs are generally easy to judge because you have had a long interaction with the source. So the handler is, I think, with experience, with knowledge, and with skill, is in a reasonable position to estimate the veracity of the input, and that is why we have a system of grading of inputs. But what probably helps also now is that there are multiple other ways of checking on an input. So for example, hypothetically speaking, if you would get an input of the presence of terrorists in a particular area, there would be other ways also to check whether that input is right, and that those other ways could be some other source, some other agency, some technical surveillance over that area. So the ambiguity of an input has to be removed by the handler, and that is a part of the skill set that an intelligence operative needs to have, is not to blindly trust and report any input, analyze it at his own end, correlate, collate, and synthesize it with other inputs that are available, and then give a reasonably clear picture to the commander or to the hierarchy.
Brigadier Tanwar, many a times when you have a Pahalgam, or starting from Kargil, almost everyone is quick to come to a conclusion saying that intel failure hai. Be it the media or anyone would come to the first thing, intel failure hai, without realizing the number of successes that you may have actually seen preventing a Kargil, preventing a Pahalgam. I want to ask you, intelligence failure, what does it mean for a military intelligence officer, and what goes through your mind when you are actually told every time, ye intel failure tha?
Intel failure is the elephant in the room, and frankly, when without going into again the specifics, there may have been times when int agencies may have misread or misinterpreted or failed to detect certain indicators. But overall, I think intelligence failure is a very convenient and a very reflexive response to any action. When we look at intelligence failure, and I just want to break it down for you and the audience. There could be four parts of an intelligence failure. First is intelligence to collect or acquire information when the agencies do not actually get any input. Second is intelligence failure to share the intelligence. Like in Pearl Harbor, the US naval ships were intercepting the communication of the Japanese, but it was not shared. The third is the failure to analyze. When there are certain indicators, when you fail to join the dots and you fail to present a cogent picture. And the fourth is the failure to act. When the user or when the responder does not have enough trust in the input or does not take the input seriously. So, intelligence failure is a very complex term and it's got many stakeholders. And it is very easy to actually brandish this term. But notwithstanding that, I think the intelligence agencies have to carry the burden of proof, and they have to ensure that they are ahead of the curve, and they don't take their eyes off the ball.
When you fail, what happens? When you fail and when you actually, you're essentially told, because you will be behind the scenes all your time. Even if you have a success, you will not be, perhaps, no one is going to come and pat your back by saying that great job.
No, I don't agree to that. I think there is enough motivation and encouragement for the agencies in wherever they are. But obviously, failures can happen. I mean, nobody is infallible. As an intelligence professional myself, there have been times when I felt that I should have known a thing better. And there is no shame in admitting that the failures may happen. It would happen. But one has to learn from that failure and ensure that it doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, the cost of the failures of intelligence is quite high. And therefore, I think it is a collective responsibility as well. I don't, patting the back, the intelligence professionals, they have to live with the fact that they will stay unsung, unheard, and probably unheralded.
I want to ask you this because from my experience of covering the Ukraine war at the beginning of it, what we essentially witnessed was this. When the Russians started coming in, you've had families pulling out their phone, capturing a video, and there was an application that was created by the Ukrainian government, and you could immediately upload it, and you were basically part of that entire intelligence community or the system. For us, for the longest time, the image of an intelligence officer is that of a James Bond. How does the intelligence officer really look like, and how can we really blend this? Someone, you and I, anyone in this room, I and you, anyone can be an intelligence officer. Is that a possibility?
So yeah, I think Sir has answered that, but this common perception is that of a James Bond, guns, gadgets, glamour. But I would like you to draw attention towards George Smiley, another iconic fictional character, the spy who came in from the cold, tinker, tailor, soldier, spy. Unassuming, subdued, unflamboyant. And personally, I think we need more George Smileys than James Bonds.
I just want to end this. You've written extensively about a lot of stories, and I don't know whether to believe that these are real stories or not. He's written a book called Mukhbir. I want to just ask you this. Any real stories that you can share, perhaps, now that it is out in open and everyone wants to hear a spy story from a spy man?
No, this book, Mukhbir, is a collection of 17 short stories, all based in J&K. And this is an honest portrayal of the relationship between the security forces and the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Because I personally believe that, as I mentioned earlier, that the success that we have got over the years is because of Mukhbirs, the informers, and the support of a large segment of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. So these stories are about that. So you can read them if you want to actually read a espionage story. But since you insist, despite my telling you not to, There is, I mean, a place I would just very briefly narrate about a place, Mada in Surankot, Punch district, which was troubled by militancy. It was early 2000s, and the people of Mada, they decided that they will not allow the terrorists of Lashkar and Toiba at that time to run riot, to behave the way they were behaving. And they themselves, on their own, we have heard of Ikhwanis in Kashmir Valley, but in Punch region, this group of very brave, very valiant people, they collaborated with people like us, the intelligence units, the security forces, and ensured that their area became clear of militancy. Ops Sarfinash, a lot of people would have heard. A singular achievement of local people who decided that terrorism cannot stay in their land. And how they, and I would say that this was not an intelligence operation, this was a people's operation, obviously facilitated by the intelligence agencies and the security forces. And this also shows that what I mentioned earlier, that human engagement and human interaction remains a basic skill set of an intelligence operator. If you can interact with the target audience, with the local population, then I think there are enough opportunities to do a espionage operation, to do a spy story. And every man is a censor. Every man can be a spy, and I think there is a spy in each one of us.
Thank you very much, Brigadier Tanwar.
Thank you for that, Sean. I'd request you and Brigadier Tanwar to please stay on stage as we'd like to felicitate